Viewers, Assalamu alaikum. This is Aijaz Qureshi from Toronto, Canada, with today's episode of the Aijaz Qureshi Show. Today, we're going to talk about understanding what emotions are and how we can deal with our emotions. Our esteemed guest today is Mubashar Latif, all the way from London, England. He is an NLP and hypnosis coach and trainer. He trains on these things, and he's doing great work. He's also a master practitioner of NLP, hypnosis, and timeline therapy. He's a radio presenter as well, and he runs a show called The Mindset Show. And also, he is a regular guest on the Islam channel. Let's welcome our guest to the show, Mubashar Latif. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam, brother Aijaz Qureshi.
Thank you so much for giving us your valuable time. Before we hit the show, let me take you back to your childhood. What is the first memory you recall as a child, like 5-6 years old child?
One thing I remember is I actually remember one of my early days in school.
Okay, what happened there?
And it was one of the first times when I went to school, and I went and I started doing some coloring or drawing or something. And it was quite exciting at the time because there was a lot of people there. There was all, so many toys, and there's all these colors and bright colors, and it's exciting. And I started doing some coloring and drawing, and it was great. I was blending in. And then when I turned around, and I was really enjoying it. I was having that fun and that excitement. And then when I turned around, I saw that my parents were walking off, and or my mum was walking off, and I then started crying. and because it was, I was always used to having my mother around, and in the early days when you start school, you don't have your parents, and it's to slowly wean you off and get you used to being in school on your own. When I saw my mother not there, I then ran to the door, and then the teacher actually
they wouldn't let you go out.
No, she quietened and calmed me down, and then eventually I began sort of blending in, and I was playing with everyone.
Yeah. And did you cry?
I did, yes.
You did cry.
Yes, initially I did, but afterwards I think that was, quite comforting, and you tend to calm down and blend in, and tend to forget.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. It's quite interesting how these early school days, impact our lives, and for many years, you're at home being pampered, being taken care of, and suddenly you're dropped at the school and parents disappear, and then you're left with the other kids who are completely unknown to you and teachers. Yeah.
Absolutely. Exactly. So it's your first exposure into the real world all on your own.
Yeah, exactly. People are commenting. Thank you so much, friends. Lots of tags being made by Jafar Hussain. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Jafar. Thank you so much. Faizan Khan Ladlai saying salam, alaikum assalam. Thank you so much. And Sayyid Mushfiq Raza Naqvi saying nice. Thank you so much, Mushfiq Saab. Bahut shukriya. All right, so let's dig into today's topic, and today's topic is understanding emotions. We hear that word quite often in our lives, but let's define that. What is an emotion? Is it a timely state, or it's a long-term kind of a state? What is emotion? Where do we get emotion? Sometimes we say over here. Emotions, and sometimes we say over here. Where do these emotions come from?
Yes, thank you. Great question to start the discussion. And emotions has been a great phenomenon since, for many years and for centuries, and even the early philosophers spoke on emotions, and it's been discussed by many philosophers and many people during times. And emotions themselves are responses to certain situations, to our environment. So when we're in a certain situation and either someone's done something or something's happened, And in a nutshell, it comes down to basically either when we've been, the type of emotion that we experience is either when we feel we've been rewarded, or we've been punished, or we've experienced some pain, some kind of pain. So whether that is
So
physical
reward,
pain.
punishment, and pain. Those are the three kind of categories, or there are more?
Yeah, so that's the main, that's the main. So you got punishment or pain. So it's two.
Okay.
You got the pain and the punishment.
Okay.
Sorry, the pain and the reward, or the pleasure.
Okay.
So either you've experienced, a pleasure, or you've experienced a pain, and then it's your brain's responses, and it brains sends signals from your brain to different areas of your body.
Mm.
And when you feel that emotion, you feel, then your body knows, you learn over time how to feel, to feel happy. You learn over time how to feel sad, and how to respond in that way. So when something has hurt you, something has upset you, then you feel sadness. And when something has made you really, you feel rewarded, you feel favored, you feel validated, you feel approved, you feel recognized, you feel that happiness. And we all feel these emotions, and we feel them from a young age. And it's very, very interesting, which we'll come to later in the show. You started off with the question of an early memory of of the childhood memory, and what we'll come to is the 5 major negative emotions that we experience,
Mm.
and we all experience those before the age of 7, and we'll come to those, and it's quite interesting. Now, emotions themselves, we all experience these emotions as a response, as a trigger, and as a, in response to something that's happened to our environment, or a person, or something someone said. And it's a certain behavior or a physiology that we will respond with. So, for example, if we're angry, a child may start screaming or shouting, or may start throwing things about, or may do something, and or on the other hand, they may just go quiet.
Mm.
It's a different response, but at the same time, everyone responds in a different manner.
In a different way, yes.
Yes, and you have these emotions, and they move around, and they're stored in your body. They're stored in your body in different ways, and that's why sometimes when you feel really happy, you may feel like elevated, and you may feel like light, and you feel light in the head, and you feel like light, and you feel good sensation all over. Whereas when you feel angry, anger is a very, very powerful emotion,
Mm-hmm.
and anger can be used in a positive manner or in a negative manner.
Mm.
A lot of the time it's used as a negative, but in the positive, well, we have the state of fight or flight. So from our, the early human beings, the early Stone Age type, the hunters, gatherers, and they had to either fight or flight. And whereas and that takes over your normal conscious day to day, because your normal conscious day to day, you probably wouldn't think of doing something
Mm.
extreme. But in certain situations, so for example, if there's a scary dog, like a violent dog, you're going to run for your life. Or if you're brave enough, if you've got something there, a wood or a trunk or a stone, you're going to try hitting that dog. But most likely, you're going to run to save your life. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what we have: fight or flight. And we don't always experience, not everyone's in the situation where they're being confronted by a violent dog, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But this fight or flight, we then have in the situations of, for example, if we have a deadline, a certain pressure,
Mm.
or for example, if
A
we've
situation,
had
a family situation, or
a
whatever.
family situation, absolutely, any emergency or something. So
Yeah.
it then sparks. Then you have to do things beyond your normal day-to-day convention, and
True.
it forces you to start thinking outside the box. You come up with different resources, you come up with different ways and different ideas of thinking and of resolving that situation or dealing with the situation. And
I
when you
start
have
calling
that
my
pressure,
friends.
yes, you call your friends, you call your family, you call your loved ones to
Right.
help you out, to help you in
Exactly.
that situation. When you have that emergency, yes, and we phone a friend, or ask the
Call a
audience.
friend. I need 200K.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So it forces us to be in a situation where we become more resourceful,
Right.
because what we learn from our perspective, from NLP and coaching and hypnosis, is that we have all the resources that we need to succeed, and those resources aren't money or big house, clothes, etc. These are all secondary. Primary resources are our thoughts, our emotions, our language that we use, and what we do inside, because everything else is then manifested through our actions. And as a result of our actions are manifested as a result of our thoughts, as a result of what we're thinking inside, and the inner dialogue that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So emotions, when we have these emotions, when the brain sends signals to in the body, and we know that we've got to feel a certain feeling, and then that feeling is stored up as energy, sometimes in the heart, sometimes in the stomach, sometimes in your back, sometimes in different places in your body. And it's not, and to answer your question, is it temporary or is it long term?
Mm-hmm.
Emotions generally are in the moment. They're not long lasting. They're not, for many, many years. However, when someone says, for example, I've been feeling sad about something for a very long time, or depressed or down and upset and so forth about something for a very long time, maybe months, maybe years, this is only because we're constantly feeding into that emotion. We're feeding into it, and it's like you've got that suitcase or that box somewhere in your room, and you constantly build up in it. You constantly put things into it, and you constantly keep revisiting it,
Mm-hmm.
keep going to it. And when you keep going to it, then you keep frequenting it, and mentally we keep playing over in our mind of the events that actually happened, and who said what and what happened. And we play over in our mind what actually happened and who did that to us,
Mm-hmm.
and how it happened and why it happened. And we see it from our perspective. And when we have that emotion, then it continuously, we nurture that emotion, we nurture that aspect, we nurture that memory. And then we see ourselves, it's like a common example I use on my radio show and even with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
We have a jigsaw puzzle, and everyone's done a jigsaw puzzle, and I'm sure you've done one as well in your time or back in the
Absolutely.
day.
Yep.
And you have the jigsaw puzzle, you have that small piece. Now, when you look at just the small piece, you don't know where that piece goes, because you look at the colors, you look at the patterns, you look at the shape, and you don't really know where that piece goes. It's only when you have that piece, you hold it back, and you look at the bigger picture, and you see where it all fits in. And you look at the picture on the box, and you see, right, this goes here. This is like this. It fits in this way. And that one piece can only fit in that one way. It can't fit in any other way. And it's similarly when we have our problem, when we have our issue, and we magnify it so much, we just focus on that one piece, just like the jigsaw puzzle. And we add all the emotions to it, the sadness, the hurt, the guilt, the regret. And we keep playing that over and over again, like a movie playing in our head. And when we keep playing it over and over in our head, we then reinforce that, and we think, you know what, life is all about this little jigsaw piece puzzle. It's all about this, and no one else understands.
Yeah.
And
It
you
has to
attach
fit
more.
in one way, and that's it.
And
That's what it is.
yes, and what we forget is that the bigger picture, when we hold it back, the bigger
Yeah.
picture is that there's so much more to that jigsaw piece puzzle. On
Yeah.
its own, it hasn't got so much. There's not the importance you're giving that one piece is actually not as much as compared to the whole picture.
Right.
And we don't recognize, we get so engrossed in our emotions, in memories, and we attach the emotion to it.
True.
And it's with that we have that, and sometimes we'll sit in one place, and the life, sometimes I say to my clients, how is your world?
Hmm.
Rather than saying how are you, I say how is your world, because
World.
the emotions that they're attaching to their world is different to the emotions that we're attaching to a certain situation.
That's right. That's right.
And when you have those emotions and they build up, and we let them build up over time, and when we keep reinforcing that, we don't know how to channel that energy to a different place. We hold it in our body, and this is what we call as known as emotional baggage.
Emotional baggage. We all carry it. Yes, that's
We
right.
all carry this emotional baggage,
Yeah.
and these are the emotions that I talked about earlier, the 5 major negative emotions:
Mm-hmm.
anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt.
Yeah. Right.
These are 5 major negative emotions that
Mm.
every individual experiences before the age of 7.
Right. Right.
So if you look at now, maybe you're like younger children in your family, your grandchildren, and your or friends' kids or whoever, you look at any children, young children, they've all experienced these 5 major negative emotions:
Mm. True.
anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. Every individual has experienced these. And then we go through life and we attach, and then we have those memories, just like when I was at school, that early day I spoke about, where initially I was happy playing and coloring and doing whatever, and then I turned around and I see my mother had gone, and then I began to cry and feel upset. And at the same time, we we let go of that as we get older, and then later we have another episode of something else, and then it latches on. That latches onto that, and then we have later in life we have something else that happened, and then it latches onto that. And as we go through life, we have these episodes of these major negative emotions, and we have episodes of, it doesn't mean that, see, there are times when sometimes we'll feel angry or sad or these negative emotions, and we won't always hold on to them as part of the emotional baggage. But at the same time, then there are other major episodes that we will hold on to, and then they become our emotional baggage.
Mm-hmm.
And when they become our emotional baggage, we tend to go through and in life, and we think that's it's not really going to make a big difference. But in actual fact, what we don't realize is that we have our mind, we have our conscious and our subconscious mind. Conscious mind is, for example, if you want an orange juice or a glass of Coke, whereas your unconscious mind is, your name and your number in your sleep. You have your habits stored, and your habits are repetitive behavior. And when you have that repetitive behavior, it's, you can choose to change that. A lot of people think, I can't choose to change this. There's no way I can change this. I've been doing it for years. It's just not going to change. But that isn't the case, because when we take off the emotion that we attach to it, and when we take off the feeling, and what we do with timeline therapy, and we take off all that attachment that we have to that, then we allow to move forward, and we offload that emotional baggage that we've been carrying for years. And when we carry that emotional baggage, we don't realize, and we think that it's just there, and especially as men. And I find a lot of my clients, especially with men, because women naturally tend to be emotional beings. They will
That was my
express.
next question. That do we feel emotions differently? Like, is it gender specific, or everybody feels all the emotions the same way?
We do feel them differently. Well, and I think more so, we feel them in many ways. We do feel them similarly and differently, but more so we express them differently. That probably would
Hmm.
be the better way to phrase it.
Oh, I
Is that
see. Okay.
we express them differently,
Hmm.
because women are naturally more open about their emotions, about how they're feeling when they're sad, when they're upset, when they're really excited, when they're down, when they might need some help, for example. Whereas men will tend to only express really our maybe positive emotions, or negative emotions may just be, for example, our anger. But to say I feel really down, I need some help, or I feel really hurt, or to really express their emotions when they're upset and crying. Men don't always do this as much as women do. Men don't always talk about their feelings as much as women do, because men, we have a natural state of ego-ness. We have our male ego that I'm the man, I'm the leader of the household. How can I express this sad emotion? I need to remain strong. I need to remain firm and upright.
So
If
that
I start,
generates next question, Mubashar, that now since people keep, like men keep these emotions to them, they don't share or showcase their emotions. What
sure,
happens? Does it have a toll on the mind and the body itself? Because it's a natural phenomena, right? There are some chemicals which are generated in the body,
absolutely,
different chemicals for different emotions. And
absolutely,
how do we deal with it as a human being?
absolutely. Yes, great question. Thank you. And yes, this is something that I was going to be coming to as well, is that when we have these emotions, that when the brain sends a signal, then yes, there are different chemical reactions. So, for example, with the good emotions, there's serotonin, oxytocin, and we have these different chemicals that are released. And when they're released and they impact and you have that feel good factor. You also have the dopamine, and you have that good factor, and it's similar to what's released as when people may be high on taking drugs, for example,
Right.
because what that does is it's like an escapism when we're in that situation. But however, when we're naturally happy, when we're naturally feeling good, feeling excited, feeling joyous on occasion, or for example, if you're in a theme park and you're on the roller coaster, you're going to be shouting with joy, you're going to be really happy, you're going to be excited, and because the chemicals are releasing to his body, you're in that situation and you've got signals, and the neurons and the neurotransmitters are released then they trigger off different feelings and expressions in the physiology. And when you have that physiology, then it feeds into the emotion, and your body recognizes that this is what the physiology and the behavior that I need to express in order to express this emotion. And in terms of when we have that emotional baggage, to come to your question, when we have that emotional baggage, we go through many years, and we think that it's just there and nothing will happen. But inside, there's chemical reactions happening, and because of that energy, and under the particle, every physical object is made up of particles under the microscope, and we are
Hmm.
made up of vibrating particles. So even this pen, even these earphones, even our phone, even whatever, your keyboard, your laptop, is made up of vibrating particles. And
Hmm.
such that even the human being is made up of vibrating particles of energy.
Hmm.
And we have that energy, and we are made up of this energy. And when we have these negative emotions, they store in our body. That energy builds up, it stores. And when it has nowhere else to go to, because we don't know how to discharge that negative emotion, that emotional baggage that we've held for many years, we don't know how to discharge it. It then builds up into something and manifests into something physical, where we have physical illness such as heart related issues, diabetes, cholesterol, even cancer and thyroid. And a lot of these are because we have different kinds of stress and different kinds of negative emotions, and we don't know how to offload them. And we also have, for example, and when we have a high level depression and anxiety, even anxiety, for example, it's it's a reaction and it's a fear of what might happen, because we're concentrating in the future of what might happen. I've got an exam coming up. I'm going to fail. Oh my gosh, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. I'm going to get in trouble with my parents if I don't pass. I've got the driving test coming up, or I've got a project at work. I need to finish it. And if I don't, and you start having that anxiety of what might happen. And as a result, you start sweating, and your heart, sorry, your blood starts pumping faster because your heart is beating more quicker. And
Hmm.
these are the physiology reaction to having that emotion, because you're feeding into that emotion. You're feeding into, oh, this is going to happen. It's
Right.
just the same as for example, if we say we're in November now and next year, someone says in next summer I'm getting married, which is a very happy occasion, but at the same time you're going to be nervous, you're going to be scared. No one ever says that on my wedding I might not be there because I'm going to be nervous.
Right. Right.
And but at the same time, when we have that, we have, see, why is it that we don't have anxiety over our wedding? We don't have cold feet, and we don't like not turn up to our wedding day. Everyone turns up to their wedding day because we don't feed into that negative emotion. And when we choose not to feed into that negative emotion, then it's just a thought that just comes and it just goes.
Right. Right.
But then when we have the negative emotion and that emotional baggage, we continuously feed into it day in, day out. We nourish it like a child. We keep replaying in our mind of what happened, who said what, and how it made me feel, how it made me upset.
Right.
And then when we have that high level of depression, depression is focusing on the past. Anxiety and depression, they go hand in hand, but at the same time, they're both opposite. Anxiety is focusing on the future, whereas depression is focusing on the past.
True.
Depression, you constantly focus on what I should have done or what I shouldn't have done, or
Mm-hmm.
who said what, or if only I had done this, if only I hadn't done that, if I wish I had done this, I wish I was aware of this. And this is what we then tend to do. We play it in our mind over and over again,
Right.
and we
Right.
add that emotion to it. And when as long as we attach an emotion and a feeling to that thought, to that experience, then it feeds in, and that's part of the emotional baggage. And that then manifests, as I said, into physical illnesses, which at that time then it's just too late. It's
Right.
like if you've got a fizzy drink bottle, if you keep shaking the fizzy drink bottle
No, man.
and you open it even just slightly, it's going to burst everywhere.
True. True.
And similarly, it's just building up. Just like if you have, it's just bubbling up. It's like a balloon getting bigger and bigger, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually it's going to pop, and it's going to manifest into a physical health issue.
Right. Right. I have some comments. Let's take those comments. Sayyid
Sure.
Mushfiq Razanakwi saying nice. Nazir Ahmed saying salam sir, walaikum
Walaikum
assalam.
salam.
Nazir Ahmed is saying a very awesome and informative session. Keep it up. Thank you so
Jazakallah.
much for the
Jazakallah.
appreciation. Sana Tariq is a makeup artist. He has been on my show. That was great show. Saying assalamu alaikum, walaikum assalam, and asking how are you, sir? I'm fine, alhamdulillah. Everything is good. Thank you so much for asking. My sister Rana Tokir is from Toronto. She is the communications executive for Pakistan Development Program as well. A travel writer, a great person. Asking, can we discharge these emotions on our own? That is without a doctor's help or somebody's help. How can we manage these emotions?
Sure. Good question. First and foremost is to recognize our emotions and allow us to be open to feeling those emotions and expressing those emotions. And in order to discharge those emotions, see, ideally and better, you would need the help of a coach or a therapist or someone to offload the negative emotions and the baggage that you have.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, in order to offload them, there are things that you can do on your own. For example, you can share it with someone. Just by sharing it, the saying a problem shared is a problem halved,
True.
right?
Right.
So just by discussing it with someone, and just by and that automatically, because until it stays in our mind, sorry, until it stays in our mind and in our body, then it's going to manifest. But as soon as it's come out, just like when you pop a spot
Yeah.
and all the pus and the blood comes out, as
That's it.
soon as we do that, then we offload and we let it out, and we're releasing it and we're draining it out from there. And it's because it's continuously, just like the spot, if it stays continuously, it's going to get bigger and bigger, and it's going to poison in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same way, when the negative emotion stays in the body continuously, then it's going to result into health issues, major health issues. So by talking about it to someone first and foremost, that we're allowing it to come out. By writing it down, this is very, very powerful used in personal development circles. By writing it down, by journaling, by doing a diary, and even writing that
Offloading the
person.
baggage. Yeah.
Absolutely. And even writing a letter to that person, and the idea here is that you don't actually give them that letter, but you write out a letter and saying, dear such and such, whether it's your auntie, your uncle, your parents, your brother, your sister, your husband, wife, your child, whoever, or someone in school many years ago, you're writing them a letter and saying, you really upset me, and this happened and that happened, and this is how it made me feel. And now I forgive you. And now I let you hold no grudges. Because when you say that and you declare that, then that's a confirmation for your body that and for your mind and your unconscious mind that you let go of it. Because your mind can't always distinguish between reality and fantasy.
True.
Sometimes we watch a film and we feel the emotion, we're crying at a sad point. Some people you'll see will be crying in the film and tears streaming down their face because something sad in the movie, and that person in the movie is no relation, no connection to them at all, and they feel that sadness, or they may be really, really scared of if there's a scary scene or a horror film, which even if they recall a few years later, they will still feel that. Because it's how that then comes down to the attachment and how they're playing it in their mind.
True.
But at the same time, see, and with NLP, we can change that because it's a perspective of how we play that movie in our mind. But at the same time, that's as an example where the brain can't distinguish always between fantasy and reality. So when we've written a letter to our heart's content and we've offloaded, and that way we've offloaded and forgiveness is a very, very powerful tool. Just to in order to offload that negative emotion and the baggage. Because for many years we'll carry through the grudge that we've had, the hurt that they caused us, the pain that we felt, the emotional pain from that situation. But at the same time, if we allow them to go forward and do what they're doing, and we go forward and we allow such emotions to be forgiven, and regardless of what they're doing or not doing, we can't control what they're doing. You can't control what someone says or doesn't say, but you are in charge of your own emotions, your own thoughts, your own feelings, and your own inner dialogue of what you say and what you don't say.
Right.
So in answering her question, it's a fantastic question to discharge, and these are just some of the things that you can do on your own. Even if you were to call that person up and say, depending on what relation you have with that person, and the contact you have with that person, ring them up and say, such and such, this happened and it really hurt me, but now I forgive you.
Correct.
And these things, they don't work in every situation, but there are, these are different tools for different situations. So hopefully some of those things are helpful.
Thank you so much for answering that question in a detailed fashion. Sister Anna Tokir is saying thanks. That was very helpful. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Rabina Baksh is our daughter here in Toronto area. She is saying, Assalamu alaikum, Mubashar Latif. I agree with what you are saying. Yes, indeed, forgiveness is powerful. Thank you so much for your thoughts.
Welcome, Salam, Rabina. Thank you for your comment.
Awesome. So I think we have discussed so many things about mindfulness and understanding the emotions, and the emotions could be of any kind that you talked about.
Sure.
And the bottom line, what I get from this show is that we have to offload the baggage by different things. If you have good emotions, if you have love and affection, share it with that person that you have affection with. If you have some anger and some other emotions, just write it down and just throw it away and get rid of your mind. And that will make some more room for good things and in your mind, right? So
Sure.
unloading is a great I think healing mechanism that
Sure.
you have to unload the unwanted baggage. You don't want to carry it forever. It's going to
Sure.
impact you. It's going to impact your brain. It's going to impact your health. It's going to impact your body, and
Sure.
It's going to impact everybody else around you. That's the
Sure.
thing. That's the most bothering thing, that it really impacts or affects people around you,
Sure.
and you don't
Sure.
want to impact. You don't want to affect loved
Sure.
ones around you.
Sure.
So we have been talking long. Let's do conclusion to the show. And what would be your conclusion thoughts on the topic today, that is understanding emotions?
Sure. So in conclusion, thank you, and it has been, it has been a pleasure to be on this show.
Thank
And
you so much. Pleasure is all
thank you,
mine.
thank you. And in conclusion, we all have these emotions, whether you're a man or a woman or whatever you are. We all have these emotions because it's part of being a human being. But it's recognizing that we have these emotions and allowing ourselves, giving ourselves permission to feel these emotions. Firstly, because there's many people out there who don't express the emotions. And then knowing that we have these emotions, but the negative emotions don't really benefit us. See,
Nothing.
in timeline therapy, what we do is we offload the emotional baggage that we've had in one session. We offload the emotional baggage that you had for years,
Mm.
and as a result, it's not that you won't feel the anger, sadness, fear, or hurt or guilt
You
ever
will still
again.
feel it, but you would better be able to manage it.
Absolutely, you'll better be able to manage it. And those major episodes that we mentioned earlier, you won't be carrying that emotional
No.
baggage. You won't be saying, "Oh, well, because of him, because of her," and you've
Yeah.
forgiven them and you've moved on. So
That,
having
that's right.
negative emotions is okay and it's healthy, but at the same time, recognizing, because it's only when you have the negative you then appreciate the positive. Like
True.
here in London, we always have the rain and the cold weather. We hardly have summer, but then when we have summer, we appreciate the summer more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So in have those emotions, my dear listeners, my dear sisters and brothers of other mothers, have those emotions, have those negative emotions, yet realize that holding on to a negative emotion for long periods and for many, many months or even years has no benefit. Forgive that person and move forward, because it's only then going to come back to you. As they say, you can run, but you can't hide.
That's it. Exactly. Thank you so much for that. Danish Khan,
Thank you.
our friend all the way from Karachi, Pakistan, is saying, "Sir, your topics are excellent." And I think these are the basic needs of today. Thanks for conducting all this. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that you like the topic and coming out and watching it and appreciating it. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Great. So now we got the conclusion, and now we are heading to interesting segment of our show, which is you and Q. That's you and me. That's Qureshi, and it's a rapid fire. I'm going to ask you some. I'm going to share some words with you. Whatever the first thought comes to your mind related to that, you just speak it out. It's
Okay.
uncensored. It doesn't matter who is around you or who's listening you or
Okay.
watching you. You just speak out from your heart. Okay?
Okay.
Are you ready, Mubashar?
Yes. Yes.
All right, let's hit it. Number one is home,
Family.
family. Number two is tea.
Biscuits.
Tea and biscuits. Yeah, no biscuits, no tea, eh?
Of course. Of
All
course.
right,
It's got to have biscuits.
that's right. Air,
Air.
yes.
Breathe. Breathe.
Breathe. All right. Horse,
Horse.
yep.
Trojan.
Trojan. Trojan horse, yeah.
Yes. Trojan horse.
Excuse me. Okay, and next one is mountain,
Peak.
peak. Wow. Next one is biryani,
Chicken.
chicken biryani. All right. Flower,
Cooking.
So that okay. I
Oh,
meant the yeah that we call it in a different way, but I meant the flower.
flower as in roses?
Yes, as in roses. Yes,
Roses.
roses. Okay, as in roses, roses. Okay, all right. Spoon,
Fork.
fork, spoon with fork. Okay. Friend,
Enemy.
enemy. Depends how much you share with them, right?
Opposites attract, huh?
Exactly. That's right. Neighbor,
Next door.
next door neighbor. Love,
Happiness.
happiness. Good. Owl,
Night.
night. Donkey,
Shrek.
Shrek. That's good. Yes, it's a great, great donkey. Yes, I like it.
Yeah.
A pen,
Pencil.
pencil. Breathe,
Sleep.
sleep. Soul,
Life.
life. Um, seriousness,
Um, thought.
thought. Driver,
Passenger.
passenger. Heart,
Brain.
brain. Leader,
Responsibility.
boss.
Orders.
Good. And the final word is Pakistan.
Zindabad.
Zindabad. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. So that was our segment U and Q. I'm sure you liked it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Danish Bhai is saying, without biryani, no topic would be discussed. No, not at all. Not at all. Biryani is a must. He likes the U and Q.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, Mubashir,
Thank you.
thank you so much on behalf of Dreams Television, the Aijaz Qureshi Show, myself, my
Thank you.
fellows who helped me run the show, all the viewers who came online today and voiced and comment and shared,
Thank you.
and
Pleasure.
whoever, according to their time zone, will watch the show and comment later. Thank you so much for hopping on the show and
Thank
sharing
you.
the thoughts about understanding the emotions. And
Thank you.
I now understand emotions better. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, viewers, that was Mubashar Latif, all the way from London, England, sharing his thoughts about understanding emotions. A great, great person, a motivational speaker. He talks on the Islam TV in London, and he's an NLP coach and trainer and all these things. I hope you liked the show today, and we always wait for your comments and suggestions how we can improve the show. I hope you liked it. If there is anything missing or short, my apologies for that. But please do let me know how we can make it better. Thank you so much for your time, friends. Until next time, Allah Hafiz.